2022 has come and gone, and overall it's been a pretty great year for games. Even if I haven't played some of them or weren't as into them, there's been massive games such as Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring of course, and God of War, which definitely took over this year a lot. For me, there was the Final Fantasy 35th anniversary, Crisis Core remake being announced, it releasing and me having great fun with it. And of course great indies like Stray came along too, and even great adaptations such as Arcane or the Cyberpunk anime series. And there's been so much more too. It's been a pretty fantastic year in a lot of ways. And even with next gen consoles starting to finally get more of a reason to buy them, especially with upcoming games coming up next year and going forward a little bit. 2022 was great, but I'm definitely excited to see what comes next. But that comes soon. Today is a time to look back on the games that I played this year that I liked the most. This kind of time of the year where everyone does their top 10 games of the year list, and it's my first time being able to do this, so I'm pretty excited. So let's just get right into it. Here are my top 10 games of 2022. Number 10. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I think this is the first of the side-scrolling beat-em-up style Turtles games in a long time. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but it's not really a franchise I keep up with heavily, so I could be completely wrong. But it's the first time in a long time I've heard a good bit of hype and excitement and interest and a good response to a new Turtles game. I've never really played much of the older arcade games. I played a bit of one on the PS3, which I think was a remaster, but this, from my very limited new coming experience, was a really fun game. I didn't actually finish it. I played a chunk of it, and even as somebody who's not a huge beat 'em up guy, I had a lot of fun with this. It is a nostalgic throwback. It is really smooth and solid gameplay. The 6 characters you can use from obviously the 4 turtles, and you can use even now Splinter, and I think it's the first time ever April O'Neil. And on top of that, it's a 6-player co-op game. Now, I don't have 5 friends who would want to play this with me, but I've seen footage and it is fucking chaos. And I mean that in the absolute best way imaginable. Even when I was looking at the trailer, I didn't have a ton of interest. It wasn't like need now kind of thing, but seeing the 6-player co-op and the mess that was, I really wanted to play it. Even knowing I probably wouldn't do it in 6 players. It really feels like a return to form for this kind of stuff. And of course the Cowabunga collection came out too, but this is mostly for new stuff. So overall, I have to give props to this because it is a ton of fun. Even to somebody like me who is typically not big into these games at all. Number 9. Horizon Forbidden West. Now I know for a lot of people this might be insanely low. Some people it's their number 1. Some people absolutely love it. And it was clearly up for a lot of Game of the Year awards, and for reasons people seem to definitely agree with. But while I do enjoy a lot of aspects about it, fighting robot dinosaurs, how can that not sound fun? If that doesn't give you at least a little bit of fun, I don't know. I feel bad. That sounds like the most stupid fun concept ever. And in a lot of ways it is. The combat is the absolute best part of this game. The world is of course absolutely beautiful, and this game does have a lot going for it even for me. But for me the biggest problem was whenever anyone opened their mouths. Aloy never shut the fuck up.
I can grab this from my stash later. It's a dead machine. It must be a bristleback. It must be chain scraping. Drew said I could get my bow upgrade in there. Looks like those cables are blocking the way up. Station's full panel. Activated something. Should be able to climb on the ladder to get to that road on the other side.
Whether it be constant comments about adding things to her stash, or about how berries can be used to dye outfits, or telling you how to use your focus 45 hours into the game, telling you basic tutorial stuff 40 hours in. Why? Explaining a solution to a puzzle before you even can see the puzzle. It was unbearable. There were times when I couldn't play this game for more than half an hour, just having to turn it off because it drove me insane to listen to. And when you have a companion with you, holy shit, it's way worse. When you're with a character called Alpha, I think it was either Alpha or Beta, and you're fighting in this big open field, and she constantly screams at you. It never lets up.
There! The machine's a weak spot! This is not where it is!
There were times I had to just turn this off after like 20 minutes because I couldn't listen to it. But my only really big gripe other than that, other than not really caring too much about the story, I get the stealth was pretty crap. You'd slowly sneak up on an enemy. Here you're getting, get as close as you can silently, and nobody sees you. And then she'll do a somersault over him, stab him in the chest, and throw him half a mile away from where your hiding spot. I mean, other enemies are going to find him. They really, I'm not saying that has to be up to the level of like Hitman or something, but they really need to work on their stealth gameplay, at least to the point where she doesn't throw enemies halfway across the field and get you caught because she's doing backflips. The only reason this is a saving grace for me is 100% gameplay. One, fighting robot dinosaurs, like I already said, great experience. It's a lot of fun. Fighting Thunderjaws is an intense, fun, mind-blowing experience that I think might be one of the coolest things ever. And fighting the new elephant enemies is also really cool. Knocking off their weapons is one of my favourite mechanics in gaming ever. My favourite part of this game was when I finished the main story and I just muted it and did side quests. Because I didn't care about the side quest story, I just did it for the play it. And it was when I could just not listen to anybody talking and play the game, it was my absolute favourite experience. I think it's the only reason it made it on this list. So, great gameplay, great ideas. I just cannot stand the amount they hold your hand. And when it's not AI talking to you, there's things coming up on the screen that's just telling you how to do basic stuff from the beginning of the game. They could improve this game for me to the point where I think it'd be like 4 or 5 on this list if they just gave you a slider to shut AI up. But in a lot of ways I can definitely see why people hold it as their favourite game of the year, or at least in the top few. For me, however, it scrapes by. And as sad as it might sound to say, I think I'm just done. I don't think I can do any more Horizon unless they fix these horrible problems, and then maybe. But for now, I have no intention to pick up Horizon 3 whenever it comes.
Time to finish this!
Number 8. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Arceus, whatever the fuck you pronounce it. This is one of the games that I first thought, yeah, this is something that might convince me to get a Switch. I got lucky, my brother had one, he didn't use it, I got it, so that's fine. But this could have been a system seller for me. And so far, I'm having a lot of fun for the most part. It starts off with a horrible tutorial, it never stops talking, it's kind of a common complaint I've had for a lot of games the last few years, to be honest. And it wouldn't even be a problem, but in this year, sat down watching him talk to tell you the most basic stuff, sometimes twice. I mean, at one point I swear a character told me how to do something, and then it came up on screen to tell me how to do it, and then they told me again. They really need to add in an option to let you skip these tutorials in Pokemon games, because it is getting unbearable. For the first 2 hours, I think I did like the first 2 hours of this game like 7 sittings, because I couldn't stand playing it for more than a few minutes because they never go away. It's just excessive hand holding and it's hard to deal with sometimes. However, when you get past that, it's Pokemon Breath of the Wild. And I mean that, again, I mean that in the best way possible. It looks like a really fun game, and it can be. It can be really addicting just getting into the swing of things. It's an open world, you can just throw your Pokeball and just tasks like catching a certain number, beating a certain number, catching them in this condition, using certain moves, and that can be a really addicting experience when you just get into the swing of that. It's very relaxing, and I love that. And even when you're talking to people about stuff that actually, matters and not just repeating the same things or just hand holding or any of that crap, it really is a great experience. I do love that aspect of it a ton. If they could just get into the actual game an hour and a half faster, this could be way better. Again, this is another game I think could have jumped 2 or 3 spots on this list if they, with one simple addition, skip tutorial. Without that annoying nonsense there, this game would be so much better. Easily an extra point or two in a review score kind of thing, I think. Okay, that might be a slight exaggeration, but still. And they even have a mechanic I love in open world RPGs, where they have like stronger enemies around the open world that you can't fight right away, but then you can come back to when you're stronger. I love when they do that in games. So this is what I'm still playing as well. And just, right after I got away from the tutorial crap, it definitely got a lot better. If it didn't, it wouldn't have even made this list. It's another one that really lives or dies on the mechanics for me. And for me, it's another one that I'm really putting on this list purely for gameplay reasons. Number 7.
I'm here to kill chaos. That's my mission.
Final Fantasy Origins Stranger of Paradise. Basically, it's a reboot of Final Fantasy 1 in a sense. You're going to fight Chaos, the original villain of the first game, and it really is based Final Fantasy's take on a Dark Souls formula. Even down to the having 5 healing items until you go to a save point to replenish them kind of thing. The story here is pretty much going to the locations from the first game again. You're doing that kind of stuff. It's a remake slash reboot. I'm pretty sure I haven't finished it yet again. I'm actually still making my way through it. Most because this game is really tough. But the gameplay is really satisfying and fun. The boss fights are intense and really cool. A lot of people have problems with the cutscenes quality, with the graphics quality. I don't. I think it looks fine. I'm not bothered by it. I think some of the designs can be really cool. And the environments are really, really fascinating to look at too sometimes. Not everywhere, but some of these locations can be really beautiful, if not graphically, conceptually. It's really not the kind of game I'm very good at, and it's part of the reason why I'm struggling, I think, to getting through it, but I do enjoy it a lot. And even if it's not always for me, I always do appreciate them doing something different like this with the franchise. I like them having a weird little spin-off kind of thing like this. Especially with 16 on the way next year and the 7 remake on the way probably the year after. It's not like this is all we're getting. It's not like this is our one Final Fantasy game for the next 3-4 years. If it was like that, I think I'd be a lot more hard on it. But I love when they have all this variety coming out. That's really great. They need to do more of this. So I definitely think Final Fantasy Dark Souls deserves its number 7 placement. And I swear I'm not saying that in any derogatory way. Just in case it came across like that.
I become chaos.
Number 6. We'll go from one Final Fantasy to the other with Final Fantasy Crisis Core. Or Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. A remake slash remaster of the PSP game, which is mostly just a visual upgrade, but there are some significant quality of life and probably game saving for a lot of people improvements. Combat is a bit more fluid. Enemy boss fights no longer just do a big special powerful attack out of nowhere. There's a bit of a warning to it. The DMW or the special limit breaks and stuff you do can now be activated with triangle instead of just activating automatically, which again, there's a lot of little things like that. I absolutely love this game on the PSP and I'm loving it now. The only reason it's not higher is because one simple reason, and that's because while a very impressive and higher standard of a remaster, it's still a remaster. And I really can't, like, if I'm just judging this on pure enjoyment, it would definitely be higher, but I don't like Jelly putting a remaster too high on the list. I definitely would feel like it deserves going higher than any of the other entries so far, but like I said, still a remaster, even if more impressive. This game takes place 7 years before the Final Fantasy VII original story, so it's probably the perfect time to release this with the remake in progress. It's one I never expected to happen. There was a lot of problems with getting the idea of a remake, so I'm glad whatever was happening was sorted out. I did not think this would happen, if ever, for any time. I was never expecting this. I was so happy. It was announced this year and it came out this year. That's why this year is such a great year in that way. It wasn't delayed, there was none of that crap, so I'm really happy about it. It's just as great if I remember, but with some fancy new looks and quality of life improvements. And while I don't know who has new voice actors, I know Zach does. That's pretty much the only one I know for sure. And I didn't even know that until I heard it. I think he sounds pretty much the same from what I've heard so far. This is the only game that I had on this list before it came out, because I knew it would make it. I didn't think they could possibly fuck it up bad enough that it wouldn't be one of my favourite games of the year. And of course I was right, at least from my end. So, while you could consider it higher if we're just talking about pure enjoyment, I think number 6 is a good spot for a remaster to go, especially in terms of this list.
Sephiroth!
Number 5. Castlemachi Behind the Twilight. The first game developed by Orbital Express, as far as I know. As far as I can find any information on it, it's the very first game they've ever made. It's a mix of platforming and using special abilities to do that, like double jumps or phasing forward a little bit. And the goal of the game is just to collect enough parts to repair your airship, stuff like that. It's one of those games that I knew nothing about, and just the art style alone got me interested instantly. I went into it completely blind and I did not regret it at all. I did a few streams of this, had an absolute blast. It's a really fun, underrated game for this year. It's one of the games on this entire list I think out of more than any, I suggest for everyone to try. It's a game I want people to support more than anything else here. So if you take one thing away from this list, try Castlemachi Behind the Twilight, because it is a fun, addicting, very relaxing and chilled experience. And on top of that, it's just silent. There's very little in terms of dialogue. You just explore. Again, not a graphically powerful game. You can tell just by the look of it, but I genuinely love the look of everything in this game. It's such a beautiful art style. And while I guess the gameplay is very simplistic in terms of what moves you have and what you can do, but it does a lot with it. The puzzles in this game are very fun to play around with, especially when you can find little ways to kind of go around things a bit faster. There's a pretty good variety of puzzle types, and that's outside of the regular open world stuff, or open area stuff. I think it's definitely my sleeper hit of the year, and honestly, I'm kind of sad just thinking about it didn't get more attention at the Game Awards or anything like that, or any more notoriety, because for the first game by a company, I think this is a very impressive, charming and cute game that I hope gets a little bit more attention and praise soon. Number 4. Koromon. Pokemon clones have been quite a thing lately for the last couple of years especially. They've been just popping out. Some of them are great, some of them are good, some of them are not, some of them I've never played. But so far, not only like from the start was it the one that caught my interest the most, it's easily my favourite so far. It's your basic Pokemon style gameplay. You get into random encounters, you have a creature that you catch on your side, on their side. You'll fight trainers, you'll catch them with spinners, you can carry 6 Koromon at a time. It's a Pokemon clone. That's just, I'm not even saying that in a bad way. It's almost like its own genre, it's its own monster capturing thing. But I think the thing that makes this stand out for me above every other Pokemon clone is just the monster designs are really, really amazing, I think. A lot of these Pokemon clones don't really capture the same spirit as a lot of the good Pokemon stuff. And I really think that this does a fantastic job with that. There's cute ones, there's epically cool ones, and there's weird ones. I was always excited to see who they'd evolve into next. There's a great variety of locations. You've got little abilities to use in the world, like pushing things or burning things, and you go along the way fighting these really, really epic Titan boss fights as well on the way. That's kind of the story of this game. You fight all the Titans trying to save the world. It's not really a big focus, or at least not a big importance, I think. I played through the whole thing on my channel once a week, which was really stupid of me because that took fucking forever, but I still am glad I did. It's another one I definitely can recommend checking it out. Anyone in the top 5 or 6 of this list, I can definitely recommend checking out if it even slightly interests you. And they do update it quite a bit too, so it's still getting updated and fixed. My only big problems with this game are, one, like Pokemon, they have double and triple battles, but you only have one on your side. And it's not like you have battles against 3 Koromon and they're weaker. No, they're all the same strength as regular encounters from that area. So if you're a bit underpowered, you might as well not even bother fighting these because you're going to get your ass handed to you. If you're a bit overpowered, then it's just a longer battle and they're in the way. I really don't like that they do that. I really wish they would have done the Pokemon thing where you could have multiple of your own Koromon. So hopefully they'll do something like that in the future. Maybe for a sequel. And you know how in Pokemon, even back as early as Pokemon Silver, if you get into a wild encounter with a Pokemon you've already caught, there's a little Pokeball next to his name. They don't have that here. There's no way to tell if you've already caught somebody you're going up against. Which I think that's a crazy error to have. Especially considering Pokemon's been doing this since like the second game. And I know you could argue that's their first game, but no, they have like 20 years of Pokemon history to look back on. That is one thing they should have really put in. And if they could fix those two things, it would definitely be a significantly better experience. And there's roughly 111, I think, Koromon. And am I going to say they all hit? No, of course not. But then that never would be the way. All I know is with my team, it was filled with creatures I found really cool, and I really did love this game. I'm so glad I played it. I'm so glad I just decided to buy it one day. And I cannot wait to see how they improve this in the sequel, which they teased a little bit at the end. Also, they have a game of Flappy Bird in there, so make of that what you will. Number 3. Digimon Survive. After so long of waiting, I think many delays, it's finally came out and it held up so much better than I expected. I'll try not to say too much about this because I have a full review and I'll link that in the description. You can watch that if you want. Digimon Survive is a mix of visual novel and tactical RPG. Now these tactical RPGs are generally not something I'm good at. They're not even something I generally go near. I know a lot of people love them. I'm not good at them. I don't enjoy them. So there has to be something special to get me to go near one. Digimon has always been one of my favourite franchises just out there, whether it be the games, which are all very different in quality and mechanics and how they play in every way. And this is easily one of my favourites. Definitely probably in my top 3. The characters were all great. Well, mostly great. Some of them were great to hate. And while they were in a lot of ways your basic anime archetypes, you know, you have the jokester one, you have the more motherly, caring one, you have the smart glasses wearing stern one. I feel like they were definitely a lot deeper here than a lot of the time where they do stuff like that. They all had more going on and they were all very memorable. I still remember every single one of them. And like I said, some of them I didn't like, and I was genuinely annoyed with them a lot at certain stages. But if I can spend chapters of the game just almost raging at one character's actions and what he's saying, that just proves that I care. It proves I'm invested, truly in a lot of ways compelled by what's going on. And when you're not doing that, you will generally be in visual novel elements to tell the story, and in between you kind of search around. It's not really a very detailed feature, there's not much to it, but it's a nice little stuff in between where you can get optional conversations and stuff too, kind of like in Danganronpa games, which will increase certain things in battle. And like I said, even though I'm not generally into tactical RPGs, I was always very excited for this game because I love my Digimon. And this is a very accessible game, I think, because not only is there an easy mode if you got stuck, I was playing on normal and I never struggled too much, and even if I did, there was a lot of things you can do to increase stats that I never touched, so I can't imagine anyone being stuck at this. I can't imagine anyone even having too much trouble as long as they're willing to use the mechanics of the game to their advantage. And like I said, that's ignoring the easy mode. So, great characters, really compelling story. It had a cool mystery going on that can be genuinely creepy at times, especially with the fantastic musical score. And that is why it is one of my absolute favourite games of the year. And I hope it did go well because I'd love to see more Digimon in the future, especially over in the West. There's a lot of games they haven't translated yet, I'd love to see them do. Number 2. Valkyrie Elysium. The latest game in the Valkyrie Profile franchise, and I think the first console one in a very long time. In over 20 years, if I'm not wrong, it was on the PS2. And I'm generally not sure how this held up for people who are fans of that franchise, but for a newcomer like me, I had an absolute blast. This is easily one of the best things I've played in a long time. The basic story is you play as a Valkyrie who is purifying the souls of the dead by the order of the All-Father Odin, who is definitely getting a lot of representation this year. Although I definitely liked this Odin a lot better than the other one, but we won't get to that. The combat is a really fun and varied hack and slash style with not only multiple weapons, but you have partners with you, special abilities, you can upgrade stuff, there's little collectibles around. And there's air combat, you can lock onto enemies to kind of grab them with a chain. In a lot of ways, it is like Drakengard 3's gameplay, but done right. Drakengard 3 is one of my favourite games of all time, but if there's one thing most people know about that, the combat and the frame rate and that stuff was, will be nice and say absolutely horrible. In fact, a lot of this game actually reminds me of that game in a lot of ways, but done better. In terms of gameplay, all of the partners you collect along the way were really great. I loved every single one of them. None of them disappointed me. They had little backstories which I went through all of them just to hear more about them because I was so invested in and enamored with this story and these characters. From start to finish, this was a phenomenal game. The only big problem I would really have with it are the loading times. It can be like 45 seconds, which can be annoying when you fight against a boss. But overall, even if this is very different than other Valkyrie games, I definitely want to play the first one now since that's releasing, I think, today at the time I'm recording this. I think it was like the 20th it's supposed to come out. Then it released on PC with extra DLC, which I just realised came to PS4 as well, I think, so I have to go back and check on that, which added a new character to play as, new difficulties, and like timed missions. I cannot wait to see where they go with this franchise in the future. I can't wait to see how they update this game. Hopefully some DLC or something, because I love this world. I love these characters. The gameplay was a ton of fun. And I definitely can't wait to go back and play it on hard mode on the PS5 with better loading times, because that would improve a lot of my frustration with this game. I can't wait to go back. It's definitely one of the first games I'll play when I get my PS5. And for me, it is definitely one of the best games of the year. Possibly one of the best games on the PS4. And of course, like the last one, I did a full review for this one as well, so check that out if you want more information. Number 1.
I'm hanging on to the other side. I won't give up till the end of me.
And of course, my absolute favourite game of this year, my absolute number 1, in a way that surprised the hell out of me, Sonic Frontiers. Sonic Frontiers is a game that I looked absolutely horrendous before it came out. The trailers didn't really look great. The gameplay looked awful, clunky and slow, and almost like half of the frames were being cut out. But I just got it because I wanted to play a new Sonic game. I wanted to be able to experience it new before any information was out there. I just wanted to go in just to see what it would be like. almost like morbid curiosity with a mix of just a weird kind of silly love to see what Sonic will do next kind of thing. Because if there's one thing I discovered over the years is whether it's great, average, or absolute crap, there's absolutely nothing quite like a Sonic game, and there's nothing quite like the conversation around a new Sonic game. But this game blew my expectations away in every regard. Not only is my favourite game of the year, it's probably my favourite Sonic game ever. I have to play Unleashed again just to get a kind of to see, because that used to be my favourite before this, but I haven't played it in a few years, so who knows. The open world in this surprised me with how well it... the story of this game, while not exactly much to it, which, like I always think, is probably the best thing for Sonic to do, to not focus too much on that. I think the characters here are at their best. There are some genuinely great interactions between them, some really touching moments, some really nice moments that got me actually genuinely emotional for the first time in Sonic history. I think it transitioned to the open world surprisingly well. Some people complain the world is a bit empty, but I think there's tons to do. There are a few open giant areas in this game to explore where you'll do little missions like getting somewhere in fast enough, or other weird little mini games. You will unlock more traditional side-scrolling Sonic stages. And scattered across the world are these huge guardians too, which will do to unlock more stuff. These are some of the highlights of the game. Some of these are they're massive, they're varied. Some of them are some of the most impressive design of enemy fights I've ever seen in my life. I was not prepared for how great they were. And the titans that you fight at the end of the world, some of the most standout phenomenal boss fights in all of games. These are boss fights that have stuck with me, I think, above most others. They were breathtaking. You fight them as Super Sonic, and for a few of them, not all of them, for me at least, the music during these was just mind-blowingly great. Every one of these boss fights feel like they could be better than most ending boss fights for other games, and the antagonist of this game, Sage, which I'm not sure was an intentional anagram of Sega, because it seems too obvious to not be, but again, why would they wait 30 years to do that for the first time? She was one of my favourite Sonic villains ever. I'm hoping she's in more games in the future. She really needs to be. And the game could actually be really funny at times. Like I said, it had its touching, serious moments too, but when it was being funny, there were a few laugh out loud moments here. It's another one I, of course, have a review up for, so go check that out to see me gush about this game for 20 minutes. I'm so happy I got this brand new. Not day one because of payment errors that I just fucked up with. Not only, again, one of the top 2 Sonic games for me, my absolute favourite game of the year. This might be like my top 5 PS4 games ever. This might be my top 20 video games of all time. If they can improve on this, if they can even keep some of this momentum up, please don't fuck this up, Sonic. You're in such a good position right now. I really hope that you can improve on this and make something even close to being this good again. Because for 95% I'd say of this journey through Sonic Frontiers, I was having an absolute blast. There was not a few minutes that could go by without a giant goofy smile on my face, because it's, in terms of pure fun as well, one of the best games ever, I think. And there's some free DLC coming up, including playing as different characters, hopefully in their own stories, because they kind of left some things in the air with that. I cannot wait to see what they do with this game going forward. I cannot wait to see more Sonic in the future, because for me, I have never been more excited to see the next Sonic project than I am right now. And that's it. 2022, like I said, was a great year. And outside of all this, there are a ton of games that I played for the first time this year that were also amazing. It wasn't just games that came out this year. I have already mentioned with God of War, and the reason God of War and Elden Ring are not on this list, Elden Ring, I'm not big into the Souls games and I haven't played it, so I can't really comment. It seems to be going very strong, to say the least. Even now, I've heard people have been just finished the entire game like 7 or 8 times already. So that's obviously something I have to respect the hell out of. And I'll definitely pick it up at some point. And God of War so far hasn't been my thing. It kind of has some of the same problems of Horizon Forbidden West for me, but yeah. But that has been everything for me from now. It's been a really good year. I had a lot of fun with this channel. It's been an amazing experience, whether it be just a few views at a time or some videos taking off a bit more than others. I'm very excited to go forward to next year too. And I hope some of you will stick with me for the journey to see what 2023 will bring, because like I think I already said at the start of this video, it looks like it's really a packed, amazing year. Especially some of the months like June, for example. I am so excited. And of course, as always, let me know your top 10 games for this year, your top whatever, your favourite games, your games, whatever it is. Just let me know what stood out to you this year. And of course, did you like Sonic as much as I do? I hope you did. I truly want that to get more attention. It's actually on sale right now if you're interested. At least it is while I'm making this. It mightn't be any more. I'm hoping to do one of these to talk about the games I'm looking forward to in 2023. So, I'll see you for that. This might be the last video of the year. I'm not sure when I'm going to put this out. If it is, I hope you had an amazing 2022. I had a lot of fun. I hope you're excited for 2023. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that stuff. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. And I'll see you for the next year, which I hope can be half as good as this one in terms of games. And I'll see you next time. Possibly next year. See you then.